terms of the fact that Keir Starmer lied in the run-up to the general election, won votes, got elected on the basis of a series of lies, and then once he's got in power, he's done the absolute opposite, and people are extremely unhappy about that. And it's worth noting that...
Are you now feeling the pressure? Because I think there's a petition that's currently
Your approval
online
ratings have dropped.
1.9 people who want the election to go again.
It's now
Is
over
it 2 million now?
It's now just over 2 million.
Do you feel the pressure?
Look, I remind myself that very many people didn't vote Labour at the last election. I'm not surprised that many of them want a rerun. That isn't how our system works.
It's saying that this government has cheated people by putting up a whole set of taxes that they promised they wouldn't put up or they kept quiet about during the general election. And they certainly didn't tell us they were going to take a load of money away from pensioners either. So they've had this disastrous budget, collapsed confidence, taken practically all the growth out of the economy, led businesses saying we've now got to be firing people, not hiring people, led businesses to say we're now going to be spending less on investment, not more. So there desperately needs to be a change of policy. So I hope what the opposition in Parliament will do.
Keir Starmer entered Downing Street, sweeping into power with that landslide majority. So to take the temperature as MPs go back today, we looked at the challenges ahead for the Prime Minister and how voters have found Keir Starmer's first 6 months in office. And our exclusive poll done for us by More in Common was pretty damning, I have to say. It reveals, like you said, 1 in 4 people who backed Labour last year, now they regret their vote, and the public see taking winter fuel payments and the so-called farmers' tax as worse than Partygate was for the Tories. Now, more than half of all those voters...
astonishing.
It is.
Just
it really is.
Tell me that again.
Public now see some of the scandals. They see the farmers' tax, they see winter fuel payments as now worse than Partygate was for the Tories. It really is astonishing poll, Nick. And now more than half of all voters think they have a worse opinion of Keir Starmer's government after 6 months.
Hey there. If you enjoy staying informed and discovering stories that matter, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free, and your support really helps us create even more amazing content for you. Join us on this journey. You won't regret it. Labour is reportedly assembling a secret database to counter the growing political influence of Nigel Farage's Reform UK party, according to a new investigation. The effort is allegedly being coordinated by Labour Together, a think tank with strong ties to Downing Street, and is said to be led by former Labour MP Jonathan Ashworth, who narrowly lost his seat in the July general election. The revelation comes at a time when Reform UK has been steadily gaining ground in national polls, surpassing the Conservatives in several surveys and challenging Labour's dominance. Keir Starmer now faces one of the biggest crises of his political career, as internal divisions within Labour grow, economic uncertainty deepens, and calls for a snap general election intensify. A major source of frustration for both Labour MPs and the public is Starmer's perceived failure to deliver on key election promises. Critics argue that many of Labour's campaign pledges were either misleading or abandoned once the party secured power. This has led to a significant decline in public trust, with a new poll indicating that 1 in 4 Labour voters from the last election now regret their decision. The Confederation of British Industry, CBI, has warned of an economic slowdown as investment declines and consumer confidence wanes. Many small businesses, already burdened by high costs and inflation, are finding it increasingly difficult to stay afloat. Meanwhile, families are struggling to keep up with rising costs, adding to the growing disillusionment with Labour's handling of the economy. Amid these economic challenges, Labour has been accused of attempting to reshape the political landscape in its favour. Reports suggest that the government is considering scrapping voter ID laws, a move critics argue could weaken election security. Additionally, there are discussions about postponing local elections until 2027, under the pretense of restructuring local councils. However, many political analysts believe this is an effort to avoid a potentially embarrassing defeat in upcoming elections. Labour's potential changes to the electoral system extend even further. there are growing concerns that the government may attempt to grant voting rights to foreign nationals, fundamentally altering the electorate. Deputy Prime Minister Rachel Reeves has hinted at reviewing these policies, raising alarm among opposition figures who argue that such a move could tilt future elections in Labour's favour. Starmer's leadership is also facing scrutiny over national security and defence policies. Labour MPs, including Luke Akehurst and Dan Carden, have warned that the government's reluctance to increase military spending could damage the UK's strategic alliances, particularly with the United States. Despite rising global tensions, Starmer has reportedly delayed plans to raise defence spending to 2.5% of GDP until after 2030, a decision that has been met with criticism from both Labour and Conservative figures. This hesitation has fuelled accusations that Labour is failing to prioritise national security at a time when geopolitical threats are increasing. With conflicts escalating worldwide, many believe that delaying defence investments could put the UK at risk, both economically and militarily. One of the most pressing issues under Labour's governance is the state of the NHS. Despite allocating billions in additional funding, the healthcare system remains overwhelmed, with record-long waiting times and staff shortages crippling services. A recent report by the Public Accounts Committee condemned NHS England's unrealistic promises of reform, warning that money is being wasted on bureaucracy rather than frontline care. Many hospitals continue to operate with outdated technology, some still relying on systems dating back to the 1990s. The slow transition to digital infrastructure has hindered efficiency, leaving patients frustrated and healthcare workers struggling to keep up with demand. Critics argue that Labour's approach is failing to address the root problems of the NHS, leading to further declines in service quality. With mounting economic problems, internal party divisions, and growing opposition from Reform UK, Keir Starmer is facing the most challenging period of his leadership. Public trust in Labour is eroding, and dissatisfaction among voters continues to rise. Starmer's attempts to maintain power through political manoeuvring, voter rule changes, and shifting policy positions may not be enough to quell the backlash. As the UK navigates economic uncertainty and political instability, the coming months could determine whether Labour can recover, or if Reform UK will continue to reshape the political landscape. With speculation of a snap election looming, Starmer's grip on power is looking increasingly fragile.